Hi everybody, I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.com.
And I'm Adam Nicholas from WhatCulture.com, here to bring you all of today's wrestling news, including could Jungle Boy be set for a big push in AEW, and EricK Rowan reveals what he was meant to reveal, or what he wanted to, in that cage in WWE. How exciting was that?
And it wasn't a spider, wow. I've got an update for you on Big E's major push in WWE, and I'm also going to talk about the former WWE worker who believes the wrestling industry hasn't created a single new star in 18 years.
Oh.
Good afternoon, that'll do, that's enthusiastic and stuff. Let's kick things off by talking about Big E, or Enormous Eric, as I like to call him, even though his name is not Eric, but he's large. We've got some information here. It's from an interview he did actually with Alex McCarthy of TalkSport. Talked about a whole bunch of different things. It's a really good interview if you want to check it out. But one of the most interesting things to come out of it is his discussion on where his push in WWE is going now. Xavier Woods is on the sideline. Kofi Kingston's injured for like a month and a half as well. Big E's striking out on his own. He's getting the singles run a lot of people have wanted for a long time. And he says, in his own words, WWE have told him what the plans are. There is a firm plan in place for his solo run, but he's not necessarily buying it because of the ever-changing nature of WWE until it actually comes to light. So there's something in place. They're going to do something cool with Big E long term. Or at least that's in place today because Vince McMahon's insane and he can change his mind tomorrow. Yep. But it sounds convincing. Big E's going to face John Morrison on SmackDown tonight. He beat up The Miz. He beat him up. That's just uncouth. He beat The Miz in a match the other week. So he's going through those guys. No idea who'll be next, but it sounds promising.
I like this idea that he beats him up and like takes his lunch money, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's the vibe I was getting there. Who doesn't want to see Big E getting a push, man? The guy has been crying out for something like this for a while. The timing seems perfect. I love the way they set that up as well a couple of weeks back, where Kofi was like, you go and have your time now, let's do this. I'd love to see him do well, and I'll tell you what, I'd love to see him get to be one of the major champions. I think he's got enough, and I'd like to see that happen, so you can just go to someone like Booker T who says he needs to change and just be like, nah mate, I didn't need to change.
Yeah,
not at all.
Give him the togies.
Give him the big togies. Well, shall we move on to another push, because we've got one going on in AEW. Not just Big E going on in WWE, but Jungle Boy could be set for a major push in AEW. One I'd definitely be up for seeing, most certainly. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio is reporting this. He's essentially said that AEW have kind of been taking note of everything that Jungle Boy's been doing. His charisma and his in-ring work have impressed quite a lot of them there, and basically the idea is they're going to aim to hold off any major push until there's a slightly larger crowd back, maybe one that isn't just governed necessarily by them, which makes total sense because you want to see this guy getting a reaction. You don't want to waste that at all. Obviously he's had a couple of great singles matches recently, most notably I think that match he had with MJF at Double or Nothing was wonderful, and of course he's been having good success in the tag team division too. He and Luchasaurus went up against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page quite recently and didn't get the belts, but still a good match nonetheless. The guy has got loads of upside for me. Andy Murray, your thoughts on AEW getting this one right? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, they've done a good job with Jungle Boy. They haven't just thrust him into a crazy spotlight before he was ready or anything like that. The same goes for a lot of the younger guys like Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. They're not just going, hey, accept this person as a major star straight away. They're slowly building them up. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes long concerted pushes, and of course well-built storylines. So, you know, a guy like MJF is shot to the top a little bit quicker. He is gonna headline all out, but he's, you know, an exceptional talker, one of the best in the business, one of the best characters in the business. Jungle Boy's on a similar trajectory for me. I think we'll see big things from him. Future babyface star for me in this promotion.
Absolutely.
Really, you could have him and Darby Allin as the top two faces for like, I don't know, a decade
forever.
Maybe? Yeah, forever! Don't know why I did the Rocky Romero there, but we're gonna talk about stars in wrestling, or the lack thereof. That was actually quite a good transition. I don't know why I did the awkward voice. But we've got Eric Bischoff here speaking on his 83 Weeks podcast, claiming that pro wrestling hasn't created a legitimate star since 2002. He says John Cena was the last. He did say that modern wrestling has a lot of guys who, are over to an extent, and they'll go out and they'll get their pops and stuff, but they don't move the needle that the stars of yesteryear did. So here's a quote. I don't mean get a friggin' pop and have a couple people chant your name, or having 20 or 30 people waiting for you outside where they know your car is parked so they can get your picture taken. That's not over, that's fun. There is a difference between being over and having fun. Having people recognize you at the arena and wanting your autograph is, and all of that, that's fun. It doesn't necessarily mean you're over. Kind of hard to argue with him here, I think. John Cena, I think quite clearly was the last, proper blockbuster star that wrestling has created. You could argue Brock Lesnar, but he was, started life in a much earlier era as well. He's certainly risen to a greater level of prominence since coming back. You could talk about Ronda Rousey, but she was already a star when she got there. And the stars of today, Becky Lynch, very, very popular performer, but you can't really point to many examples of her spiking viewership through the roof and all that stuff. Guys like The Fiend, great merchandise seller, very popular in certain sects, but again, is he driving ticket sales? Is he compelling, hordes of new people to tune into SmackDown every single week? The numbers kind of don't lie in that regard. So you would hope that this would change sometime down the line, but for me, man, Eazy-E is not wrong.
He's not telling you lies, is he? If you check the little lie detector, there is no questionable data there going on. I think he's got that spot on. Daniel Bryan, I'll quickly say, feels like one I could maybe class as having that palpable over energy, but I don't think there's that many could really tick the box, truth be told. For longevity either, I think is another thing that's important there to mention. But from one Eric, let's move across to another Eric, shall we? Back to WWE this time. EricK Rowan has been talking to Sports Skeeter about his gimmick in WWE. As we all recall, the lovely cage gimmick that he had, where he carried it around for a very long time, and we all got obscenely interested, intrigued and excited about this cage. What's in the box? We all wanted to know what was going on, and apparently it wasn't supposed to be, Andy Murray, a spider, and certainly not one that Drew McIntyre would end up squishing and squashing as it happens. But apparently Rowan had a few emails alongside with Paul Heyman to give some ideas to him, he said, which it seems Paul Heyman either completely ignored or just wasn't a fan of. And a couple of them sort of revolved around mimicking something from the American Horror Story. He said by carrying around a little woman inside the cage is what he suggested. He said who he'd befriend to protect from the atrocities of the outside world. And as a fellow little person, I understand what it's hard. I wouldn't necessarily think I'd want to be in a cage somewhere, but I understand his heart was in the right place. Apparently WWE and Paul Heyman just weren't that into it, Andy Murray. I can't think why.
I can't imagine why. Wow, where do you start with this? Did you, the first time I read this, I was like, does he mean like a doll or something? Like a little mannequin or something like that? You could play up the idea that he's just a bit nuts and all this stuff, but you wanted an actual person.
He did. You wanted the actual small woman to be inside the cage.
Cage was like that big. It was like that. You're not fitting a human being, no matter how small they are, into that goddamn thing, EricK Rowan, you silly sausage.
Listen, hey, you can't argue. It's creative, right? It is creative. I will say that.
They're telling a story, certainly, and it's probably better than the mechanical spider, the reveal of which was just destroyed the next week when Drew McIntyre killed it. So. Hey, we love a stupid, silly nonsense angle here at WhatCulture Wrestling. The spider was just I had a great time watching that stupid spider. Yeah. But let us know what you think of spiders and people in cages down below, as well as all the Erics we've spoken about today, whether that Big E, Eric Bischoff, or the real enormous EricK Rowan. I'm just rambling now, and we're going to say goodbye. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWW. Send us your Twitter questions for tomorrow morning, I guess. It's Saturday tomorrow morning, but someone will be here. You can follow Adam Nicholas on Twitter at...
What an absolute delight it's been to watch the wheels fall off your car. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. You can find me at It's Adam Nicholas, and if you really want to, for more wheels falling off, you can find Andy Murray on Twitter
At Andy H. Murray, the H stands for, hey man, you got a spare tyre, because I bloody well need one. This is the last thing I do in my working week, man. The video, of course, is going to fall apart, brothers. Have a good weekend. Watch. Is there any wrestling on this weekend? I don't think there is. Watch some old stuff. Bye.